where the West begins in Fort Worth, Texas, to around the globe. You are listening to Talk of the Night. And now, your host, Paranormal Phil. Thank you, and good evening, good morning, wherever you may be around the world, around the globe, or even in your own backyard. I am Paranormal Phil, and later on in the show tonight, we're going to be joined by not one, but two guests as we talk about UFOs, aliens, and Bigfoot, also known as Sasquatch. But first, up on the Talk of the Night website under Story of the Day, Professor puts out their theory on alien abductions. A conclusion about abductee experience reached by Dr. David Jacobs of Temple University, with stories and claims of abductions by alien life and those that don't believe it. There are people that at some stage in their life have encountered beings from another world. When most think about abductions, they think taken from their homes, medical experiments performed on them, and returned to with memories of their encounters distorted or erased. But there is one man who has attempted to make sense of it all, and that is Dr. David Jacobs. Dr. Jacobs has spent years collecting and composing abductee testimonies. He has come to the conclusion that those abductees will play a part in future alien invasions. But you can read that full story up on the Talk of the Night website under the story. There's a link. You can take that, hit that, and it'll take you right to the story. So let me talk about my guests here, and then we'll bring them on. Chris Ruppert is an experienced filmmaker and graphic designer whose unique storytelling and editing style truly brings conscious contact, full disclosure to life, leaving audience gobsmacked and wanting more. Tyler Transue, and I hope I pronounced that right, is an experienced filmmaker whose keen eye for cinematography and engaging personality allows the cast of Conscious Contact Full Disclosure to shine their brightest while sharing their powerful stories with the world. So please welcome to my guests, Tyler and Chris, to the show.
Yay! Thank you.
Woo!
Thank you for having us.
Paranormal Phil, thank you so much for having us, man. It's great to be here.
Yeah, it's great having you guys on. I mean, I've been talking a lot about ghosts and spirits lately, so I need to break up the monotony.
Dude, aliens, UFO, telepathy. Yep, we got you covered, bro. And Sasquatch.
Yep, and I know there's a lot of people that love to hear about Bigfoot and other cryptid creatures. I'm actually got Lauren Coleman as a friend on Facebook. So,
awesome! I saw on your next week's schedule you're going to be talking about past life regression. That's something Tyler and I have recently been talking about.
Well, that's a rebroadcast.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I'm taking next week off. I got some things to take care of, so it's an old show from November of 2018. Still
an interesting topic, though.
Yeah. Oh, trust me. It was an interesting topic when I had him on the show. So, all right. So tell the listeners a little bit about yourself and everything.
Go ahead, Tyler.
Sure. So, my name is Tyler Transue, and Chris Ruppert, he's the other gentleman on here. And the both of us combined, we formed Dockside Media, which is the dopest documentary production company this side of the Milky Way. We formed here in August of 2001, and we had this idea. Chris said, "Hey, man, do you want to start making documentaries?" We're both independent filmmakers for the past 5-6 years, worked on some projects together, like commercial work, short films, music videos, other corporate stuff. But yeah, he came to me with this, and we decided right out of the gate that we wanted to do something paranormal, just because it's interesting, it's entertaining, and we thought, initially the first plan was to do the 7 Gates of Hell, which is a local legend around where we live. I'm in Lancaster, Pennsylvania, and that one was over in Pelham Township. And the long and short of it was, if you go through these 7 gates after midnight, after the 7th gate, you're instantly transported to hell. So as we start doing research for that, I stumbled upon Anjali's story on Reddit. And I saw, wow, she's a former Department of Defense intelligence officer, and she's going to give a public press conference in Washington, D.C. in front of the Lincoln Memorial on August 17th. And I'm like, yo, Chris, this is like in a week or whatever. What do you think if we pivot to doing something with UFOs, aliens, conscious contact, that type of thing? And one thing led to another. We filmed her press conference. And then that led to Sue Walker, who is she's in telepathic communication with the Ponte extraterrestrials in a mountain base in the Sandia Mountains in Albuquerque, New Mexico. And so between that and Anjali's story of being in conscious contact with extraterrestrials in a base in a mountain in the Mojave Desert, we found those links, and then also we linked up with Clifford Mahooty, who was a Zuni Pueblo owner. I could keep going on forever, but so we found these. Oh man, dude, we got these stories, these experiencers who have had conscious contact and telepathic contact with extraterrestrials. Like, how can we not share this with the world? Yeah. And man, it was an awesome process going and logging these interviews, speaking to these genuine, great people. And then afterwards, got all the footage to Chris, and he edited it into, this beautiful documentary, Conscious Contact Full Disclosure. You watched it, Phil. Let me flip it to you. What were your thoughts on it, bro?
I watched the trailer because I'm so busy that I didn't have time to watch the thing, but I will, when I have a chance to watch it. I want to watch that because like I said, I've had many experiences over a long period of time. I've been able to see spirits since I was 5 years old, so nothing surprises me. And then,
awesome.
Of course, I've been in the paranormal field for 30 years. I've done cleansing of dark entities in homes where most people would run away. So I've had an interesting life. And, of course, like me, like you guys, I actually was going to school to get my degree in radio, television, and film, but I was taking the classes to more or less not for the filmmaking aspect of things, but for the marketing aspect of radio, because everything else I knew. I've been doing radio off and on for 10 years, so. But I've learned a thing or two in those classes on cinematography, and eventually I'm going to finish my screenplay on a horror movie screenplay, which is kind of going to be based on a true events.
Man, dude, that's awesome. We're looking forward to seeing it, and I think
speaking our language over here.
Yeah, Chris, if you want to segue off that, just as far as your filmmaking background being, right?
Sure. Yeah, I mean, I'm a big horror and sci-fi movie fan. I do a YouTube channel called Bad Movie Night, talk about low budget movies and stuff. So I've always loved, I'm a big horror guy, and so I've made 14 short films. They're mostly all horror or sci-fi related, and so I've been into narrative filmmaking for a while, and I just thought documentaries would be something that we could approach with a small team and yet still be creatively satisfying. So when I approached Tyler with that subject of Seven Gates, I just thought, well, it's local, so we can easily capture something there. Yeah. And when he brought the Anjali story, is of course I agreed with Tyler, but he's the one who went out and logged all the interviews for this film. So I didn't know what anyone was saying or anything. I got all this footage back, and I just plopped it into my Premiere, which is the video editing software.
Yeah, I know that software. That's the software that I got trained on in college.
Yeah, it's a lot of people still use it to this day. Obviously, it's a pretty popular video editing software. So I put these 5 interviews in there and just kind of started editing and piecing it together. And what was so interesting was all the well, you haven't seen it yet, Phil, but I won't spoil too much. But there is, these are 5 completely different individuals with their own personal stories. Yet a lot of times they bring up the same kind of subject matter, only it might be phrased slightly different or something like that. But it's still the same concept they're discussing. And so it was cool to see this pattern kind of form and this story kind of grow out of just these interviews. And we didn't approach the movie with any kind of storyline or, narrative in mind. We just wanted to be able to tell these people stories in the most compelling and interesting way possible.
Yeah, and of course that's a lot of documentaries that I saw that, you want to have them tell the compelling story because that's what's going to draw people in.
For sure.
And everything like that. Now, I was going to ask, tell us about your filmmaking career, but how did you get started all into that? Did you just, like I said, decide?
For filmmaking, I actually started making movies in like high school, if not even earlier than that. And we made so many short films and maybe what you would call a feature film back in high school and stuff. Yeah. And even after that for a while. But then there was a time where, growing up, having a family, it took away from that. Like I didn't have time for it anymore. Yeah. But then, I don't know, like 8 years ago or something, it started to get more interested in launching my YouTube channel and all that stuff. Kind of sparked the interest again, and then I started shooting narrative films. And then from there, commercial work and stuff, because I'm self-employed, so I do all kinds of creative projects, and so naturally I started doing more video work. And that's kind of how I got started involved in all this documentary stuff.
Okay. And for me, I just happened to see, man, I think this May will be like 6 years ago. For whatever reason, some movie trailer came across the TV, during a commercial break. And I don't know why, but for whatever reason, that day, like in my brain, it clicked, and it was just like, oh man, dude, that's just a bunch of 1 second, 2 second, 3 second clips strung together to tell a story. I bet I could do that. And, and I went outside with my cell phone and my son, he was like 2 at the time, his toy dinosaur, and I made this fictitious movie trailer called The Dino Slayer, which you can still find it on YouTube, and put some music behind it and sound effects. And I, posted on social media, and I was like, just instantly fell in love with filmmaking. It was just, man, perfect timing. If I would have tried this 20 years ago or something like that, 30 years ago, and had to shoot on cameras and like physically stitch or tape like film together and on a giant editing board, I don't know if I would have gotten as far as I did. But man, I loved it so much that it's like that 10,000 hours rule where if you do 10,000 hours of something, you'll become a master at it. And man, I don't know if I've done 10,000 hours yet, but bro, if you go back through my Facebook feed and the TT Productions company I created and Dockside Media, dude, I just did a ton of just video work. Whatever I thought was funny, whatever came across my mind, I just kept creating. And then after like a year or two, I was getting like client work and people were paying me money. So I ended up getting started investing in cameras and gimbals and a drone and getting my remote pilot's license. So, dude, I love, hopefully when people watch this film and they hear this show and they're like, holy shit, these two guys made this documentary. I would have thought it was made by a much larger studio with a lot of backing and investors and stuff like that. And it's awesome what you can create, with good vision and cinematography and lighting and commercial grade equipment and gimbals and oh man, yeah. So and I think hopefully you notice too. So for the people out there that are listening to this, we're talking about conscious contact full disclosure, which covers like UFOs, aliens, telepathy, consciousness, experiencers, hybrids. And it's by interweaving 5 people's stories over a 69-minute runtime. But we've also, we have The Ghost of Gettysburg, which is coming out April 26th. And then we have Secrets of the Sasquatch, which we just got picked up for distribution, and we'll have a date here shortly. I'm hoping it'll be this summer for sure. I mean, we have it all cut. But I'm hopeful what people will notice is, man, as sharp as Conscious Contact Full Disclosure looks and feels, man, The Ghost of Gettysburg and Secrets of the Sasquatch, like, bro, we just keep getting better because we keep doing it more and we keep having more ideas of how to film these things in a more cinematic way so that people can really, feel the subject's messages and their stories and connect with them. And it's an awesome, awesome thing, man. So with your horror, your screenplay for your horror film, bro, like, you can do it. Chris and I are proof in the pudding, man. If you just move your feet and go do it, it'll be ballin', bro. It will be.
I'm 100% disabled veteran and everything like that, so it's hard for me to get around. But I was out last Saturday filming at the Fort Worth Stockyards on the Ghost Tour and everything like that. I wanted to break out the big equipment that I had, but I didn't have time to sit up. I was late getting dinner and everything like that, and I'm like, I brought a big old, I got a chest rig that has an arm where I can just hold it with one arm, and it's basically a chest gimbal. I can move it all around, pan, tilt, everything like that, and stuff. But I don't have the high-tech cameras either, but I got like a camcorder, I got a DSLR camera, and of course I was live streaming it too, but for some reason, the live stream did not want to stay out, but that's why I made sure that I had it. I have a rig to where I could put both my camcorder and my cell phone on it, along with lighting. So, I mean, I was ready for that, but I had to actually carry that rig and just leave the body armor thing, body rig, back behind at the Cowtown Winery where the ghost tours happen, but there's been plenty of times that I've filmed down there and everything like that because I love the Old West, I love the history of it, and of course, talking about the horror film, I got a friend out in Beverly Hills that his house is 150 feet away from where the Manson murders happened, and he's produced his own film because he is a producer out there in Beverly Hills, but my horror film is based off of an event that happened there, and I don't want to give away too much of the screenplay, but the lady pretty much had unusual movements, sidestepped, walked into a mirror, and started screaming uncontrollably like she was being pulled into the mirror.
Oh, wow.
So
that is creepy, yeah.
So I was like, that sounds like an interesting horror movie. And of course, I love scaring the heck out of people during Halloween. That's my favorite time of year. So I was like, I'm going to start writing a movie screenplay. And I started learning how to write the screenplay, how to do extreme close-ups, cowboy shot, extreme wide shots and everything like that, learning how to format the screenplay to mention it's daytime, certain location, and then so much more. But I'm sure once I'm finished with it, I'm going to send it to a professional to kind of review it, make sure that it's all good and ready to go. And like I said, my friend in Beverly Hills, he knows the movie industry, so I'm sure he'll pretty much, I'll have no problem filming at his house, because that's where I'm going to film from, but it's going to make it look like it happened somewhere else.
That's awesome, dude. I love it, man. I wish you the best with it, and I'll be excited to see it.
Yeah. Now, Now,
yeah.
Now
you can do anything you put your mind to, bro.
Yeah. Now, when did you start Dockside Media, and why the name?
So we started that. Let's see. I forget when the official paperwork says, but we. So the beginning of August, Chris said, "Let's do a document. Let's start making documentaries." August 16th, the day before, I went down and filmed Anjali's press conference to use in the documentary.
And this is 2021, so last year.
2021, yes.
Yeah.
So August 16th, 2021. I'm like, Chris, we gotta. Yeah, here's some names. We need a page because I want to be posting stuff as I'm down there so we can start building a brand. And so we had the initial name was Dockside Productions. And when we went to LLC it was already taken in Pennsylvania, I believe. So we switched to Dockside Media. It was kind of like a playoff, like the Dark Side. Yeah. And we went with like the Doc Side because docs were making documentaries. And, doc is short for documentary. So that's how we came up with Dockside Media. And, we LLC'd it. And we've got, 3 documentaries picked up for distribution since then. Here we are in April. So that's, 8 months. And we've got a 4th one in plain sight, the intelligence community and UFOs. That one, we have one more interview to film for that. I'm flying out here on the 29th of April, so a little over a week. And I'm meeting with Rick Doty, or Richard Doty, if you're familiar with him. He's the former Air Force, Agent of Special Operations Intelligence Officer. And basically he was tasked with disinforming UFO experiencers and whatnot. He would go to conventions, keep tabs on people, feed them misinformation and half truths.
Almost like MIB without the MIB.
Mm-hmm.
What was that, Phil?
I said almost like the MIB without being MIB.
100%, yeah.
Now, because sorry, I lost my train of thought there, but I was thinking when you mentioned Dockside Media, kind of almost playing off a dark side. Believe it or not, when I started radio, I started using, because I didn't know about the whole music license thing and everything like that, so I was using Eddie and the Cruisers on the dark side, and it came as a catchphrase, so now I recorded my own outro music, and of course my sign is "See You on the Dark Side." So not because, one, because I have dealt with the dark side of the paranormal, but also because the show is done at night, so why not dark side? But
that's an interesting synchronicity there.
Yeah, it just flows just great and everything like that, and for some reason I was like, it's perfect. Now let's get into the movie that we're here to talk about. Tell us a little bit about Conscious Contact in full disclosure without giving away too much, because I don't want to spoil it for me or my listeners.
Chris, do you want to go ahead? I don't know. Was I having mic issues?
No, you were good, Tyler.
Oh, okay. I thought somebody paused when I was telling the John or the Rick Doty story. But so for Conscious Contact full disclosure, we have 2 people who are in telepathic or conscious contact with extraterrestrials. Sue Walker, if you look her up, she is tweeting on Twitter at the handle is @Sandia Wisdom. She is a clairvoyant as well. An experienced clairvoyant. She has worked with 3-letter agencies on missing persons cases, right? Helping to find them. As I stated earlier, Anjali, former Department of Defense intelligence officer, right? She also, I think, ran for some I don't know if it was for Senate or what, but somewhere in South Dakota. So these are, very interesting people who have worked with the government. So the government trusts them and their opinion. And so I think when people hear their stories and what they're talking about, I think it's a breath of fresh air for the UFO community, for people who are really into UFO documentaries and aliens. I think this will be new information and exciting for you, and a new perspective and something to think about. And for people who maybe aren't into it or don't believe in aliens or have an interest in it, man, this feedback we've got from like pre-screeners, dude, they loved it. And they came out of it saying, man, I don't know. Maybe there are extraterrestrials out there. Yeah. So we think it's a very impactful movie. And then you have Zuni elder Clifford Mahooty. So if people are fans of like Ancient Aliens, this guy, he rest his soul, he just passed away here like maybe 2-3 months ago now. But we're talking, this guy that had elders and these stories passed down from generation to generation. And the things that he has seen and heard and experienced, and the research that he's done, looking at all these different Aboriginal tribes, like the Dogons and stuff, and that seeing that, they're all talking about these star people and these star nations. And so, oh, dude, it's just an amazing documentary. And then, and just Chris does a great job of interweaving all these stories and these experiences where, like I said, and Chris does a great job as well, is it like kind of ends on a very positive and uplifting note, right? And to me, it's like it gives you like a Rocky IV send-off, man. Where like you're coming out swinging, dude. You're fired up. Yeah. You want to investigate more. You wish that it didn't end. And it's just, I think, like I said, so far people have loved it. It's available on Amazon, iTunes, Google Play, Microsoft Movies and TV, and Vudu.
Okay. Yeah, I'll have to get one of those services just to watch it, because I don't think I have any of them. I might have Amazon, but I'm not too sure.
I think we sent you a private screener link, dog, an advanced screener. So we got you covered, Phil. You're having us on the show.
Okay, I'll have to look. But anyways, how, because we got a couple minutes before we go to commercial break, but how were you able to find and get a hold of these people to do this documentary?
Man, dude, we're in 2022, bro.
Yeah, well,
you can darn near find information for anybody. So I reached out to him.
Okay.
Anjali, I saw her story on Reddit. Boom, dropped into so went down to the press conference. I messaged her on Reddit and started communicating that way. Said, hey, can I put a lav mic on you so we can get clean audio for a documentary that we're shooting? She said, yep. Sue Walker, saw her on Twitter, sent her, I don't know if I was a direct message on Twitter or if I had to like find the website and then, a website of hers and send a contact form. But same deal, was just open and honest with these people and asked. And she directed me, I think, connected me to Clifford Mahooty and Reverend John Polk. And at Lampy 1947 was from Twitter as well. So it was just a matter of just asking these people, hey, would you like to be a part of this documentary? I'd love to hear your story.
Yeah.
And we'd like to share it with people.
Like me, I've had guests on that have appeared on like Coast to Coast AM, but I've gone to like internet radio directories where people fill out their information and say, I want to be on a show. And then I fill out my information about my show. Of course, they fill out their information for people to look up too. But I have them usually contact me. I mean, shoot, 1 week into restarting the show, I was booked for a month straight. 5 days a week.
Wow, dude. That's a good idea. I'm going to have to use that method now.
A couple days in, and I was already booked for a month. for a guest. So, I mean, I'm doing something right.
Yeah, definitely, man. Definitely keep it up.
Absolutely, man. You should be proud of yourself. It's a big accomplishment.
And we get that question a lot, like, how did you reach out, or how did you get a hold of these people and stuff? And honestly, it's just like, we just find them on social media and we shoot them a message.
Yeah, no, there are some people that I want to get on, but I know I got to grow my audience a little more before I can try and contact them. One of them I know is going to be a pain in the butt trying to get a hold of, because from what I understand, he doesn't like to do interviews or anything like that. And that is Dan Aykroyd. I want to pick his brain on the paranormal.
Yeah, he was on Joe Rogan. I tried to reach out to him too. But, dude, worst thing they can do is say no or not get back to you. So you might as well try. You might as well.
Yeah. All right, but we are at the commercial break. We'll be right back with my guests, Tyler and Chris, as we continue talking about UFOs, aliens, and Bigfoot. We'll be right back.
Falling out of love, I'm falling into this place. I'm telling you, I know I get down, but cannot erase. You are more than us, and I just pray to live. I'm struggling to keep up when I'm living on the piss. And you know I'll get it, but will I give it shit? Getting tired of faking everything like this. And you see me in the darkest of my life.
Do you have a talk radio, Facebook Live, or YouTube show and would like guests for your show but don't know where to go to get them? Well, go to radioguestlist.com and sign up today. They have all different experts in different fields, and you can find the ones that are just right for your show. That's radioguestlist.com. Sign up today. It's free.
To advertise on Talk in the Night, send an email to talkinthe.night@outlook.com. Talk in the Night has plans to fit your budget. Get your product or business heard around the world by the Talk in the Night listening audience. Plans include 30-second spots and banner ads on the show's website and mentioned on the social media sites. So get your product or business heard around the world today. Shop the Talk in the Night merch store today and pick up one of the many products with 9 different designs to choose from. The store has men's and women's apparel, drinkware, houseware, and accessories. Pick up a t-shirt, coffee mug, or anything else on there and support the show today. Go to talkinthe.night.com to find a link to the merch store. And now, back to Talk in the Night with your host, Paranormal Phil. Okay, and we are back with Tyler and Chris as we talk about aliens, UFOs, and Bigfoot, Sasquatch. And the questions I want to get into now are, I think I kind of plucked them out of the trailer and everything like that, because I'm sure a lot of people would probably ask the same questions. So why hasn't there been any process in the scientific progress made in consciousness?
I would argue there is some. I mean, look at Neuralink, right? I'm sure there is tons of investigation and research into memory, because so much of the population suffers from dementia and Alzheimer's and diseases like that affect the brain. And so I think we're constantly learning more and more about how the brain works.
Okay.
But I think we still have a long way to go.
I mean, yeah.
As far as like, these individuals firmly believe, that they can communicate telepathically, right? And also, it's well documented, the government spent 2 decades, 20 years, and millions of dollars studying remote viewing, right?
Yeah.
Like, this is a fact.
The Stargate program.
Yeah.
What's that, Phil?
The Stargate program.
I just think, there's something to it.
Yeah.
And but I feel like, the people that were talking about iPhones and electric cars or even airplanes or rockets, anything like that, 100 years ago were labeled as crazy. And, now, like PS5's virtual realities for kids these days, like that stuff is commonplace. Like a child can pick up an iPad and intuitively operate that thing. Whereas, my parents or grandparents, they just kind of look at it, whatever. They just can't do it, right? So what's going to be a commonplace thing 100 years from now? And I think it very well could have something to do with consciousness. I mean, I feel like there's certainly times in my life, and I can't explain it, but I'll think of somebody who I haven't spoken to in a long time, and for whatever reason, I get a text from them, right?
Yeah.
Like shortly after that. And so is there some sort of collective consciousness and we're all connected? I don't know. I think like it seems like if you're doing like a 50-50 coin flip or something like that, I feel like you can, affect it so that your odds are like 50-40 or 54-46 or something like that. Like you can get an advantage based on, the thinking good thoughts, the placebo effect. Again, another documented scientific fact that some people, if they have extreme pain or depression or something like that, for whatever reason, you give a group of people, some the real pills, some sugar pills, and some of the people that take those sugar pills will report, less depression, better mood, they're happier. They'll report lower pain levels. And it's like their mind is somehow fixing them because they believe that the pill they were given is fixing them. So I think there's some power to that kind of stuff.
Yeah. Now, now I do have kind of a belief system in that because, like, for seeing and communicate with spirits, I want to say about 6 to 8 years ago, I think it was, I coined the term the Santa Claus effect for being able to see and communicate with spirits, because a lot of people have that ability when they're young, but they lose it as they grow older. And I'll explain, but I don't want to destroy any kids' reality. So if you got kids, have them tune away. I don't want to destroy the reality.
There you go.
But the way I describe it is that when we're young, we're told Santa Claus is real, and as we grow older, we find out or we're told that he's not real. Well, same thing with being able to see the spirit world and communicate with them. When we're young, our minds are not corrupted by the everyday world, and as we grow older, a lot of people, not me, but luckily because my mom validated my experience, but a lot of people are told that it's not real, it's just our imagination. And I think the same thing with telepathy and more conscious contact through the mind is possible. We just haven't learned how to unlock that ability.
Yeah, and I mean, think about like an alien species who would have the technology to travel to our planet, they would have to be way more technologically advanced than us. Perhaps they started 1,000 years before the human species, and just think what our technology will be like in 1,000 years, because this stuff changes exponentially. So I would think if the best way to communicate someone would be to directly implant your thoughts into their mind, right? Much better than trying to say what's in my head with words that we agree mean something. So, yeah.
Yeah, and like I said, I think there's so much out there that we don't know. Of course, you look at ancient aliens and everything like that, and they're talking about different things that even back in the Egyptian time, the Baghdad battery, stuff like that, how did they have that knowledge? And it could possibly be that these alien races actually came here and gave that technology. There's so many different cases that I can spout off and everything.
Well, we talked to Clifford Mahudi, who is a Zuni Pueblo leader. And he talks about, in their culture, they refer to them as the Star People. And their culture goes back, hundreds and hundreds of years.
And there's, Edgar Casey, was it Edgar Casey or, no, not Edgar Casey, Ed Lee Scallion, Coral Castle, and how he moved all those things by those monoliths by himself, or Stonehenge, how were those, there's so much debate on how they were moved, but, is there a chance that that technology exists, that they were able to get that technology or have help with that technology, or even building the pyramids? There's that whole discussion. Was it alien race or was it men that band together to build it? But you look at the alignments with the stars, how did they know all that and everything so much like that?
For sure, yeah.
Now, a lot of people are more aware of their surroundings these days, but is it reserved to our corner? Do you think it's reserved to just our corner of the universe, to each individual, or linked all across the cosmos, different universes, different galaxies, and everything like that?
Yeah,
I think that
Tyler, go ahead and speak on that. I was going to say, because you wrote those lines, and how would you speak on that? Sorry.
Yeah. Well, I just think the odds, man. I've always believed since I was little. I don't know. I would never say 1,000,000% yes. There are aliens, but I'm like, dude, I feel like the odds have to be in that favor. Bro, you think just how far we've come in 100, 200 years. We are a curious species, man. We kept building magnifying glasses, right? And microscopes until we got so small we could identify, okay, wow, matter, everything is made up of atoms, dog, atoms. Oh, shit, and there's electrons and protons and neutrons. It's wait, what? Dude, so the fact that we get to there as a human species, then we make, the LHC in CERN, and we can get these mile-long tubes to shoot electrons at each other.
Yeah.
And we smash them and eventually confirm this Higgs-Boson particle, right? That had been speculated for I don't know how many years. But it's holy shit, dude. Yeah, if we and we're talking about a universe that is ever expanding, and it's billions of light years across, and we are just now sending probes to Mars, right? And we're just now putting up the James Webb telescope that's going to allow us to see further into our past, right? Or into the universe's past, because it takes the light that long to travel to the lens of that telescope. Dude, yeah, if any, and we're finding like microbes or bacteria, whatever, on different, on Mars and stuff. It's like, oh, dude, and that's just in our tiny little place in the universe. How, like, I feel like probably the odds are in the favor of like, oh, dude, not only are we not alone, but dude, the universe is teeming with life, tons. And what do we do when we discover, say, like an uncontacted tribe in the Amazon or something? Bro, we don't want to make their society collapse. We leave them be and we study them from afar. And somewhere in that tribe, one of those tribesmen or tribeswoman is like, yo, dude, I feel like I see a drone or a plane or something. And they're telling people, yo, there's more to our world than what we believe.
Yeah.
And they're like, nah, man, drink some more ayahuasca. This is it, bro. This is all there is. And so, like, yeah, I would not be shocked if extraterrestrials are monitoring, if we're in some sort of zoo, if we are some sort of hybrids, right?
Yeah.
No,
I do believe we could be possibly star childs and everything like that. Because, I mean, you look at the history, you look at mythological things like that could have possibly been real, that was possibly an alien civilization at one time, Atlantis, and who knows what happened to that. So, I mean, and of course, as big as the universe is, how can you not think that we're alone? Or not, you know what I'm trying to say there. How can you not think that we're the only people here in this universe, that there's got to be something else out there? We just haven't discovered it yet.
For sure. And science is uncovering new things every day. Like, I mean, just the fact that, like, it is a fact that quantum entanglement exists. And it's called spooky action at a distance. So, like, Phil, if I spin an electron here in my office, dude, if you have the instrumentation in your office, you can measure an electron. If I'm spinning it clockwise, you'll measure an electron in your office spinning counterclockwise simultaneously at the exact same time, which means somehow, bro, there is some sort of link. We can't see the thread with our eyes and that type of thing, but there is something that is connecting, right, all these points in space and time. So it's like, once we, I can't see the Wi-Fi signals bouncing or coursing through my body right now, but they're there. And so I feel like, right, once we, start understanding the mechanism of how those 2 points in space and time are connected, then you can start, like, manipulating them. I haven't looked into, like, quantum computing yet, but I believe it's probably somehow utilizing, right, instantaneous transfer of data like that.
Yeah. Well, there is another person that I could probably get that answer from, but I still got to contact him, and that is Dr. Michio Kaku.
Oh, yeah.
So I'm sure he could probably answer a question like that.
Right. But, man, we're curious species, and we're just going to keep going. So, and then you've got things like Jeff Bezos, right, of Amazon dumping whatever, $100-200 million into, like, whatever, like, reverse aging company, or consortium is like out there. And it's like, oh, dude, I don't know. Like, starfish, they've been able to regenerate their arms and stuff and limbs for, like, thousands of years or hundreds of thousands. I don't know how long they've been around, but, like, dude, there's species that can do these types of things. So, yeah, is it only a matter of time until, right, our life expectancy is 200, 300, 400 years? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, who knows?
Yeah, and there's a lot that we're just barely scraping the surface of. I mean, talking about the government and everything like that, I mean, I think it was, let's see, when was it? When was the story published? I pulled up the story. I'm just trying to figure out when it was published. Okay, it was published last year. But it was on the Roswell crash. I mean, look at when that happened, 1947. Look at how we were being told, oh, it's just a weather balloon or swamp gas or something like that. And now they're the Pentagon admits testing the wreckage from the UFO crashes. And I think they finally, with the Freedom of Information Act, finally disclosed that it was a crashed UFO at Roswell.
Yeah, we actually just interviewed Tom Carey, who himself interviewed, I think it was somewhere around 600. Actually, Tyler, how many people was it? Do you remember?
Oh, you were cutting out there a little bit, but 600 first-hand and second-hand witnesses to Roswell.
Well, yeah. So he has so much interesting stuff to talk about with that. And you're right. I did see they released that 1,500, I think it was 1,500 page document, and it talks about like radiation burns that some people had, unexplained pregnancies, just a bunch of things that, you've heard in this field for years, but it seems like it's all validated now since that document came out.
Oh yeah, and of course with the Navy pilots having the encounters with UFO, and they couldn't hide that anymore. And I don't know how much longer it's going to be before they can't hide it anymore. I'm sure that they're just giving us little breadcrumbs here and there, but I mean, just think. I forget when it was. Forget what year, but look at just in our recent past, basically, when Orson Welles did War of the Worlds, and it was on radio, and everybody freaked out. Nowadays, if we see a UFO, we're kind of intrigued by it.
Yeah, it feels like the stigma against this stuff is lowering or getting smaller. I think it's because of the internet, and people are able to communicate more and not feel so afraid to put their ideas out there.
Yeah, and of course, when I started in the paranormal field, it was like people like me that could actually see and communicate with spirits. We were kind of shunned upon because it just wasn't too far in the past that witches were burnt. People that were suspected of being witches at Salem were burned at the stake, and then people just had that fear of witchcraft and everything like that. And now we're learning more about the paranormal because it's over-sessionalized with the paranormal TV shows nowadays. But a lot of people don't understand what goes into putting on those shows, and I could talk days on end about that. But
oh yeah, it's a big production, right? And a lot of it's manipulated, just like a lot of reality TV. It's things are taken out of context and stuff to try and build a certain narrative. But you're right; it's very sensationalized a lot of times in TV.
Yeah, and of course, I think that plays a part in some of the stuff that we see even today with UFO sightings and everything like that, where it's, what is the word I'm trying to look for? But people are still kind of reserved about understanding. Like, I was working at an amusement park about 5 years ago, and, of course, they launched one of the SpaceX rockets from Andrews. Was it Andrews or Edwards? I can't remember. I think it's Edwards Air Force Base out in California. And I was running a ride and everything like that, and people are like, is that a UFO? I'm like, I know UFOs are at least a little bit. That is a rocket. But people are kind of awe with something in space that we just don't know what it is.
Yeah, definitely.
Exactly.
For sure.
I had a unique experience. during one of the for the Secrets of the Sasquatch documentary, that one we did a couple campouts, and at one of the campouts, we saw the Starlink satellites, right? One of those launches, and it was insane. Had I not seen a YouTube video of it before, like I would have for sure thought it was an alien invasion, just because, this string of lights, and they're all spaced out, not evenly, but however far apart each one is, like it stays that far apart as it's cruising across the sky, and it looks like they're lit up, but really it's just the sun shining over the like past the earth and reflecting off those satellites as they're cruising through the sky. So it just appears as if they're lit up. And then same deal, when they go into like the shadow of the earth, like instead of them going all the way down to the horizon, like they just disappear. Like they look like they're just going into it, like disappearing into a wormhole, like, 20, 30 degrees above the horizon. So, it's great. Like there are some man-made things that, can be explained for these sightings, but certainly I think there's enough of them. And, that these things like the Tic Tac video and, these things had leaked on like some obscure, like German, I can't remember if it was like a German, like CGI site or something, but either way, it was some weird small forum, right? Where who knows if it was Lou Elizondo or some, former Department of Defense person, but like, so like what other videos are out there that people discount and just, dude, it can't be real. It's gotta be a hoax. Like this flyby video, because the UFO, the object, I mean, it almost looks too good to be true, right?
Yeah.
But maybe we find out here in the next year or two, the government says, that really was recorded through one of like the window of one of our, I forget what spy plane it is, but I don't know. It's fascinating stuff.
I'm sure that a lot of our technology has come from alien technology that they kept quiet for so many years, like Roswell and everything like that, I'm sure that we gotten a lot of our technology from that, like from the space agency to cell phone technology and everything like that. Now, of course, everybody, I've talked to plenty of people about UFOs and everything like that, and not guests on the show, but people out on the street and everything. And a lot of people, I have to explain that UFO doesn't mean that it is extraterrestrial. It just means it's something that we cannot identify. And a lot of people, when they were testing the SR-71 or the B-2 or B-17 bombers, people thought that those were UFOs just because of the high speed. It was the technology that we were not used to. Of course, now we are today. But I wanted to get your take on, do you think that a lot of that technology that we have today came from possibly one of these crashed UFOs?
Definitely, we've definitely talked to a bunch of people who have shared that experience or shared that thought as well. And I think it's definitely a possibility.
Okay. All right. Well.
Yeah. I mean, I wouldn't say for certain, but one, I think it's a possibility. Two, you have some government officials and different people. I don't know, Gary Nolan, Eric Davis, different people talking about, and testifying before Congress about, that they were tasked with like researching or testing materials that were extraterrestrial, like they were not of this planet, right?
Yeah.
So when you hear stuff like that, and that the government's in possession of these materials, or rather, I'm open to all these things, that I wouldn't be shocked if that the government gave these to private industries or companies a long time ago to be able to wipe their hands of it. And as far as like Freedom of Information Act requests and whatnot, they wouldn't have to disclose anything because it wasn't in their possession. I see we're getting up to the hour here, so I'll wrap it. But
yeah, and of course, luckily I'm the sound engineer, so I can decide when I want to go to commercial. But I wanted to let you wrap that up and everything first. I don't have a production manager or anything like that tell me, you got to go to break. No, that's all me. That's
right on. But yeah, no, I think all that stuff's really cool and definitely possible.
Yeah. But we are at the commercial break, but we'll be right back talking about aliens, UFOs, Bigfoot, Sasquatch, whatever you want to call them. It goes by many names. And your phone calls and questions after the commercial break, where you can call in and ask these guys questions about this. We'll be right back.
I know you need distance. I know you need time. I know that you're searching far and wide, looking for a purpose, looking for a change. Remember, if you're hurting along the way, that I am still right here. I'll always be right here. The light is on, so when you're ready, come home.
The weather is getting warmer and people are out and about. Well, if you love ghost hunting, now is the time to pick up some new gear. GhostStop.com has a wide variety of equipment to choose from, and one of those items is Blue Buddy. He's back. The talking bear every investigator wants on their team. Click on the Ghost Stop banner ad at the top of the show's website and pick up your Blue Buddy today. Go to spring.com and sign up to create your own design or choose from a design from one of the many creators on there. Spring has ways to integrate your store on social media, custom stores, and they have digital and physical products. While you're there, check out the Talk in the Night merch store. To get started with Spring today, click on the banner ad on the Talk in the Night website. Go to the show's website and click on the links for each of my guests and purchase a book or other product that they may be promoting. Without them, there would be no Talk in the Night. Whether you're interested in the paranormal, conspiracy, technology, health, relationships, or any other topic the show covers, my guests have something for you. Check it out today on talkingthenight.com.
I was baptized in the fountain of youth. I was scrutinized for telling the truth. There's a scandal going on around here. Our reflections looking back in the mirror. Did I mention I was losing the tooth? I got to move on. Got mountains to move. I got mountains. Mountains to move. I got mountains. Mountains to move. I got mountains.
To call into the show, Skype Talk in the Night, or by phone at 817-717-1280. Now back to Talk in the Night with your host, Paranormal Phil. Okay, and we are back with my guests, Tyler and Chris, as we talk about UFOs, aliens, and Bigfoot, Sasquatch, and it goes by many names. The phone lines are open if you want to call in, Skype. Use the Skype name Talk in the Night, or by phone at 817-717-1280, or go over to Spreaker.com, sign up for a free account. It don't cost a dime. You don't have to record anything. You can join the discussion with me in the chat and everything like that. I pay attention to my listeners. I interact with my listeners and everything like that, and I definitely read your questions and everything like that, and I pass them on to my guests. If you don't feel like calling, you can do it that way. And that brings me to the first question in the chat here. And there is a lot of thought on this. I've been kind of thinking about it and looking into it. And being like aliens, Bigfoot, being part of interdimensional beings. And what if the question is, what if we think we're talking to spirits, but when in fact we're actually talking to aliens? What is your thought on something like that?
Man, great question. As far as the Bigfoot and aliens connection, if you watch Secrets of the Sasquatch, when that comes out, the cast touches on that a little bit. So I find that very interesting. And, dude, I would absolutely be I wouldn't be surprised if it is something that right, aliens and spirits are confused or mixed up. You know, wouldn't be shocked if, say, the angels and demons talked about and written about in the Bible were extraterrestrials. And if we are hybrids, right, being made in God's image, right, in these extraterrestrials' image, would stay in line with that doctrine.
Yeah, basically the Star Child thing and everything like that.
Yeah. So, and if these beings, right, if they are interdimensional, that could be misinterpreted as or mistaken for spirits, right? I think there could certainly be an overlap with that. What about you, Chris?
Yeah, I mean, I'm the same thought for the most part. Like, there's so many things. I mean, that's what science does, though. But like you were talking about earlier, Tyler, with like the atom, like before we knew the atom existed, it still existed. It was still doing what it does, So we're constantly finding new things and discovering new things. And so, we attribute something to this phenomenon because we don't have a better explanation for it. But maybe at some point technology will be advanced or something will come out that allows us to identify what this is. And it turns out, actually, it's not ghosts. It's just an alien species or something. Yeah. Like, I definitely see that as a possibility.
Yeah, and of course, the reason why I brought up that question, and it's caused me a lot of thought on it, is because, I mean, you think about it, a lot of people say, well, Bigfoot or Sasquatch is the world hide-and-seek champion. You can never really find him, and we're starting to lose a lot of the cover that he has out there. I mean, there's still plenty left out there, but I mean, to say that one day, I don't know if we'll ever actually get DNA. I mean, there was a couple of guys in Georgia that stuffed a Bigfoot suit full of rotten meat and stuff like that and tried to pass it off as a Bigfoot, but I don't think anybody's, as far as I know, has never gotten any kind of DNA. And of course, before the show, we were talking about my sighting and everything like that, and the other stories that we talked about, people having rocks and stuff tossed at them. I don't think anybody wants to get close enough to one to get a DNA sample. But
I agree. Yeah, no, certainly tough. And I just think about, I mean, dude, check it. I have been deer hunting since I was 16. I think there was like maybe 5 years in there that I took a break or something. Dog, Phil, guess how many deer I have gotten? 0, bro. 0. And guess how many days I have sat out in the woods quietly and haven't even seen a deer, despite there being hundreds, right? Probably within, a few square miles or whatever it is. But it's like, dude, so yeah, I think it's certainly possible that, man, like a Sasquatch or Bigfoot could remain undetected, and have the occasional slip up right where it's sighted.
Yeah, like my sighting, it was just by pure chance that I actually saw it because I was out there alone, and of course, there was nobody else to back up my story, so it's a personal experience, so I can't say, oh, I know for a fact that he's real, when it could have been somebody playing a joke or something like that, but at 12 feet tall, I don't think anybody was playing a joke on me on that one.
Exactly, dude. No, that's awesome, man. That's far out. And there's enough people that have seen things like that are unexplainable. So,
Now, I want to get into, because we talked a lot about the UFO and everything like that. I do want to talk about the Sasquatch and everything, because that's another interesting topic that people love to hear about. Like I said, I'm friends with Lauren Coleman on Facebook, which I sent him a message. I'm still waiting on to hear back if he wants to be a guest on my show. Just because I want to pick his brain about different cryptid creatures, Loch Ness Monster, Bigfoot, Chupacabra, all that kind of stuff. But there's so many topics that I can go in there with that one. But I wanted to get into the secrets of Sasquatch. How did you come up with the idea for that documentary film?
Yeah, well, man, I'm telling you what, Phil, all this stuff just almost feels like fate or destiny. We haven't, really gone out and said, oh, man, we're going to make a UFO and alien documentary called Conscious Contact Full Disclosure. Okay, now we're going to do the Ghost of Gettysburg documentary about ghosts at Gettysburg. And, now we're going to do Secrets of the Sasquatch. I mean, they just kind of, I don't know, they just materialized as if by some outside inspiration, and these things would just kind of come to me. I'd run it by Chris. I'm like, dude, hey, what do you think about Secrets of the Sasquatch? He's like, I like it, man. So I put out some public posts on social media, seeing if some people wanted to camp out, in some secluded areas. Had some people who were experiencers. Went and camped out with them. They had multiple sightings, had rocks thrown at them, could see the eyes, could see the eyelashes. And then also other people at the property, a guy's son, rocks thrown at his window, when he was younger, swears to it still to this day. And dude, those things were man, they were definitely eerie and kind of creepy, being out in the middle of these woods, super quiet, right? And we had thermal camera. Yeah. We had the game ears. We had set up glow sticks and different shiny objects and a ball and cans on fishing line to try and see if something would trip it and make noise. Yeah. And dude, yeah, just as I'm filming this stuff and a couple of the people out there exploring and looking, dude, the hairs on the back of my neck just standing straight up. I'm like, dude, I'm 30 yards out in the woods, filming them walking down this path, shining their the red flashlight back and forth, and I'm just like, oh, dude, something could literally just pluck me right out of here, dude, and nobody would ever see me again. It was so scary. But yeah, man, it was a thrill. And then meeting all these experiencers, even out in New Mexico, and flew out there and got great footage, drone footage of the area to help tell the story. And we had our buddy Adam Hartwick with Shadow Alley Productions. He's been a big help. So to help tell these documentaries for Conscious Contact Full Disclosure, he has just these sick costumes, right? Legit, very expensive costumes. So he rocked an extraterrestrial costume and mask to get B-roll for Conscious Contact Full Disclosure. And then he had a sick, nasty Sasquatch costume, which Phil, if you would have seen him in the wood, like if you would have seen us filming this B-roll, like you would have, I mean, it's a legit costume. So it's awesome that we use it to help tell the stories, right? Because we need it to be an entertaining doc. We're not trying to pass it off as legitimate Sasquatch footage. Nobody would, everybody would be banging down our doors saying, what the hell?
The Patterson film.
Yes.
And everything like that. I mean, it's grainy and stuff like that, but I mean, I think it's probably one of the best film sightings that is possibly true to the story of Sasquatch. You there?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Chris, did you want to say anything on that?
No, I mean, I agree. It's really interesting footage, and Tom Carey talks about that quite a bit because, I mean, there's a theory that the Sasquatch is just a kind of ancient hominid that survived, back when humanity was first starting, because we have found fossil records of the I don't know how to say it, but
Gigantopithecus or something like
Gigantopithecus, that's it. That, if you do a computer rendering of, is what appears to look quite a bit like a Sasquatch in size and what we think of typically as one. So I think there's a lot of different potentially interesting avenues for where they are, where they come from. I mean, we talked to Sue Walker as well, and she explains that, the Ponte alien species she communicates with says, Sasquatch are an alien race as well. So lots of interesting theories out there.
Yeah, and of course, I think that would play in part with the whole interdimensional beings and everything like that, them plus extraterrestrials and everything like that. But now, in talking to any of these people that you were out there with filming, did they ever mention about the howl or the scream?
The Ohio howl?
Yeah.
Yes, we have a few people, mostly Tom Nutter, we interviewed. He mentions a few stories he had where he heard the howl, his son heard the howl, and he recognized it because this was after the infamous, Ohio howl had been, made its way out there. So he said it's very comparable to that. Also with tree knocks experience where he had lost his keys in the woods and had to go back and pick them up, and decided just to knock on the tree and heard the returning knock, which is something many experiencers have themselves experienced. So yeah.
Now, go ahead if you got something to go on that.
No, that was it.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure I wasn't cutting you guys off.
You're good.
But no, I mean, what kind of kind of stories did the people tell about the sightings that they had or their experiences?
Well, I guess we don't want to give away too much of the doc.
Yeah, I don't want to.
But I mean, all of them had experiences, whether it was visual sightings, smells. Right, I think there's a lot of reports of that.
Yeah, bad smell.
I know stuff being thrown at them. I don't want to give away any of the real good ones, but I mean, certainly, the idea of the extraterrestrials and telepathic communication with the Sasquatch. We just got some very, very interesting stories, and the stories were corroborated by others who had the same experience. And so we're like, wow, this is real. Yeah, this is really far out. And so, if people think they're going to see irrefutable video footage of a Sasquatch, I'll apologize in advance. We did not get that.
Yeah, that's
we would be. I think we'd be selling that to like the news company.
Yeah, you have to actually be out there and get lucky. Like I said, even when I had my sighting, I wish I had the technology that we have today. But of course, by the time that you probably would be fumbling for a camera or something like that, and of course, as big as they are, you might have a little bit of trouble unless you got a good camera with a great zoom and got lucky again.
Yeah, for sure. But Secrets of the Sasquatch, I mean, it is a great, compelling documentary of these people who, whether they're experiencers, anthropologists, right? These are degreed anthropologists, have their doctorate degree. We've got like just investigators, subject matter experts. And so I think Secrets of the Sasquatch, like Conscious Contact Full Disclosure, I mean, it's for people who are into this type of content, but it has new information and a new stories and a new angle. And I think it gives people, really something to think about, which might explain the Secrets of the Sasquatch and the nature of the Sasquatch.
Yeah, and
so
of course,
I look forward to people watching it.
There's all kinds of information out there that people can see now, but I mean, a lot has not been talked as far as I've noticed. There hasn't been that much talk about Sasquatch anymore. It's almost like you kind of, there's still sightings, still experience. Darn, I got the hiccups. But experiences and everything like that. Now, did these people mention the different types? And I don't want to give away anything too much, but did they mention the different types? Sasquatch, like Sasquatch goes by Bigfoot and so many other names. But did they mention about their, like, different parts of the country, they're named different things? Like, just one example, like, I think it's Georgia, they're called the skunk ape.
Not that specific example, but yeah, they do talk about the different names and different types.
Well, and Sue mentions, a specific smaller type.
Yeah, the woodbin. And some there's some other similar, stories and stuff told along those lines as well.
Okay. Now, I do like asking all my guests a devil's advocate question because I love throwing my guests off curveball and everything like that, see how they respond and everything. Just to give, like, those people that are skeptical or just like James Randi comes to mind. Like him, I swear, if Bigfoot stepped right in front of me, he'd still be like, "Oh, it's somebody in a costume." But what if a lot of these sightings are just somebody possibly being in the people that experience this are just somebody in a costume?
Yeah, I mean, it's a possibility, right? You just have to look for patterns, I think, is what's important. Especially nowadays where, people are able to get their message out a lot easier. So what you have to look for are patterns. So when two people who don't know each other and are being honest and open and sincere with their stories, and sometimes similar elements pop up, that's what I find very interesting, because then you have a data point. You can start to dig down and hopefully satisfy some of more of those skeptical people who need that data to see, that there is something to this phenomenon.
Yeah. And of course, in the Go ahead. I'll let you.
I was just gonna say, like, man, if I feel like if say the majority or most of these sightings are just knuckleheads in suits trying to get their jollies by playing some prank, man, I feel like we'd have a lot more people shot in Bigfoot suits. You know what I mean? Like I think the fact that, you know, there's these brief sightings that nobody's really getting clear footage of, like, yeah, it just gives me more credence to that. Yeah, it's some sort of creature like anything else in the woods, man, where they're trying to stay undetected, man. Like, humans are not natural to their environment. And so, right, they're not going to just hang around. And if they were, yeah, there's enough knucklehead Americans or people all over the globe that, right, someone would be like, oh, dude, I'm dropping this, right? And I don't think there's tons of reportings of people in these suits being shot.
Okay.
As far as I know.
Like I said, bringing up the whole, because skepticism is, for me, is healthy in the paranormal field, because, like, when I go out, or when I used to go out and do investigations, I would look at the terrestrial explanation before I said it was paranormal or extraterrestrial or something else. And, like, if I go to a location I hear a knock, I'm not going to immediately be like, oh, well, it's a ghost knocking on the wall. No, I'm going to look, could it be an animal in the wall? Could it be the pipes, of water flowing through the pipes or something flowing through the pipes? And I tried to look at that terrestrial explanation first. So a little bit of skepticism, I believe, is healthy in the paranormal field, whether it be ghosts and spirits, whether it be cryptid creatures, whether it be extraterrestrials and UFOs.
Yeah, I think that's what you got to do, right? But also don't close your mind. Keep an open mind to these things, because a lot of people, you know, they live in their bubble, and when you get out and you experience things, you start to see that there's more to the world than you might know. So I just encourage keeping an open mind about this stuff.
Okay, now let's get back into some of the questions here from the chat here. Okay, and this goes back to extraterrestrial and aliens and stuff. The question is, okay, what does the aliens look like if they seen them other than their crafts? Like, has anybody in that documentary mentioned a different what they look like, what race they might be? Because a lot of people have heard the Greys. That's the most common race of aliens, but there are people that talk about the reptilians, the Nordics, the Anunnaki, and so forth.
Right, yep, tall whites and all that, yeah. They're mentioned in the film. I think one of the real unique aspects is, you know, what people are going to find out about Sue Walker, and that her story is just super interesting. I mean, as far as how I don't want to give away too much, but how she first started communicating with these extraterrestrials, the Ponti, telepathically, and then these extraterrestrials became her art teacher, dude. Wow. And so she has these beautiful, you know, paintings, drawings, I guess, if they're using chalk, maybe different colored chalk, of the Ponti extraterrestrials. And so it's great. I mean, she has the extraterrestrials named, or she knows their names and draws their images. And they look, you know, similar to like Greys, for sure.
Well, I want to get more into that and everything like that after the commercial break, but we'll be right back after the short commercial break as we talk about UFOs, aliens, Sasquatch, and so much more with my guests Tyler and Chris. We'll be right back after the short commercial.
we'd fall into that same honesty. Lately I bite more than I can swallow, and I've sealed these senses in a bottle. Then I wish we could go back that way. Hang on, darling, these memories like mending a broken room in our hands, but still out of touch. Think I've forgotten how to dream.
Do you need music for your radio show, podcast, or YouTube channel but need a music license to play it on your show? Well, go to artlist.io and check out the plans they have. They have 3 plans to choose from: personal, unlimited, and enterprise. All the music that you hear on the show is from Artlist, and there is a banner ad on the show's website. Check it out today. Do you love the strange, unusual, and weird unexplained mysteries? Do you like reading about the paranormal and other happenings? Well, I have the website for you, unexplainedmysteries.com. On there you will find so much, such as the latest news and articles, forums, news with video, and so much more. That's unexplained-mysteries.com, or you can click on the banner ad on the show's website to take you right there. Do you love history? Do you wonder what happened on this day in history? Well, check out history.com/this day in history and find out what happened on this day in recorded history. You can also click on the image on the Talk of the Night website under This Day in History and check out one of the many things that happened. The show's website lists a different event in history every day, so check it out today.
Another day to live another fairy tale. It's another night to drink and then forget. Hold on.
To call into the show, Skype Talk in the Night, or by phone at 817-717-1280. Now back to Talk in the Night with your host, Paranormal Phil. Okay, and we are back in the last half hour of the show. The phone lines are open if you want to call in and ask my guests questions about UFOs, aliens, Bigfoot, anything like that, or go over to Spreaker.com, pop in the chat, sign for a free account, it don't cost a thing, and chat with me and others in the chat and ask your questions that way. If you don't feel like calling in, I get it. A lot of people are afraid to call in and share their experiences sometimes, but it's nothing to be afraid of. I mean, it's more widely open nowadays, but anyways, let's get back into, I think earlier we talked briefly about the guy that was kind of like the MIB agent, kind of passing on disinformation and everything like that without being an MIB agent. Has anybody in that film discussed MIB agents?
Well, I haven't spoken to Rick Doty yet. That'll be coming up. I'm trying to think. Well, Tom Carey, who, and this is for the In Plain Sight, the intelligence community UFOs, which we should have that finished within a month, and it'll be released this summer as well. But so for that one, Tom Carey, the guy that's written, I think, 12 books on Roswell now. So he's been researching and writing about this for a long time. But, Tom, he's saying the government showed up to the, these these people's houses, these people that witnessed this, and said, yeah, dude, you didn't see anything. We will kill you and your family, right?
Yeah.
I'm like, what? This is insane. And I mean, if this guy, he went and got first and secondhand accounts from all these people, right? And if that's what he's saying, like, oh, dude, I believe him. He has no reason to make that up. I think the government, he'd have a lawsuit on his butt. I'm very, very interested. Like, oh, well, and then the other guy, one of the guys, the first people I interviewed for the In Plain Sight, the intelligence community UFOs, was John Ramirez, retired CIA officer, right? And so that guy in that interview was talking to me about some secret meetings that he was invited into, being told that the McMinnville UFO was real, 100% true. That's why they've never been able to officially disprove it. He's talking or he speculates that the extraterrestrial beings found at Roswell may have shared genetic code, their DNA, was similar to the human genome.
Yeah.
And that aside from, say a craft being found there and extraterrestrials, the fact that these are hybrids and or somehow, right, we have the same DNA as them, that could open up a number of different avenues. Yeah. But, the individuals in that, as far as being retired, CIA, as well as this Rick Doty, who, well, I'm interested to sit down with the man and hear what he has to say. He told me whatever, there was some classified stuff that I wasn't allowed to ask him about. But dude, I love it. It's like I'm living in a Jason Bourne
Tyler,
movie, man. This is Cloak and Dagger.
Tell him your story about the people that visited you after we filmed Conscious Contact.
Well, yeah, I mean, just had crazy things, odd things happen in my life while we're filming Conscious Contact, full disclosure, and because interviewing people or filming press conferences of former Department of Defense intelligence officers like Anjali and Sue Walker. She had worked with previous 3-letter agencies. Dude, I got a little wigged out the one day when my son and I were out shooting basketball, and it was just whatever, this perfect setup where this European couple happened to stop in front of my driveway, say they just flew in, were trying to get to their friend's house. They had an address but no GPS, but how they got to my house was not in the right direction. It was super weird. And the fact that they're European, but they're both very attractive. They have a baby in the back, they say. All I see is a baby seat, but I couldn't actually physically see a baby. They're saying they're from Europe. They don't name what country, and there's no identifiable accent, right? To me, it almost, if I had to say gut feeling, is oh, dude, they almost seem like maybe Russians that watched American cinema and learned English that way. Because I didn't and they spoke it pretty well. I didn't notice anything. But yeah, and then so that it culminated in just the type of guy I am. They're asking for help. I'm yeah, you know what? I'll tell you what. My son and I will hop in my car and we'll drive you to that address so you can get there because you don't have GPS, no phone, whatever. And I do that. And as I leave, I'm wigging out. I'm oh, dude, I didn't lock the back door. Right. All these things are flashing through my head. I'm they're following me to this address. As I get close, I get to a 4-way stop, and I look up in my rearview mirror, and I'm a quarter mile from the place they need to go, and they just wave me off, oh nope, we know where we're going, and I'm oh, wow. Okay. So I peeled off, and they I guess, continued to that place. I was wigged out enough the next day. I even drove back like that morning after my son went to school. And I'll be darned, dude, I did see that same car. I found it, whatever, a quarter mile down that street near that address. So if it was operatives, they're playing the long game. But it was so weird how they got me out of the house that quickly with the door unlocked. Like, it was a perfect setup. Like, if people
if they
followed
wanted to
me
go
and
in
knew how my
get
personality
all that
was.
footage and erase it, basically.
Yeah.
Now,
So
there are like those. I forget when that video was taken. I don't know if you've ever seen it, where these two tall men, kind of almost like real pale, real tall, walking into the hotel, and you see them come into the camera view, but you don't see where they go. But people had mentioned about like people like that don't look like they're of this earth. And I didn't know if any of the people in your film, either one of the conscious contact or the in plain sight intelligence community and UFOs have ever mentioned about people like that almost look non-human.
Certainly, right, with conscious contact, full disclosure, I mean, they're describing the extraterrestrial beings that they've seen, and they've communicated with. Clifford Mahudi, he brings up in his findings and research, he brings up hybrids in the sense that they are mixed in with, they're living among us.
Okay.
And they know who they are.
Okay. Now, I just wanted to see if anybody had ever experienced something like that, because I've heard plenty of stories like that too. So, I haven't seen anything. I mean, I did do, for due diligence sake, before I went and interviewed Sue Walker, she has a telepathy 101 primer. It's like a little study guide that helps you learn how to practice telepathy. It's on officialfirstcontact.com. It's on that website under the download section. And again, it's called the Telepathy 101 primer. But, I had like 2 odd experiences where I attempted, to do telepathy the way that it was instructed. And the one, I had this extraterrestrial being appear before me. Now, my eyes were closed, but it seemed like it appeared in front of me, like 5 feet physically in front of me, which was very odd because as like a filmmaker, I don't have a problem like closing my eyes and picturing, say, an image or a scene up in my mind's eye. But it was just weird how this popped up, not up in my mind's eye, but like physically in front of me. And then the second one, there was like water droplets I felt falling on my arm. And I'm like, man, this is really weird. Like, cracked my eye open, saw the water droplets physically. I'm like, well, I better wrap up this like telepathy thing. I'm under this tree, but I guess it's raining. And I wrapped it up and I walk over to the pool to like confirm that it's raining. That's why there's water on me. And yeah, dude, like no rain. Everything's dry around. I'm like, what? I don't know. Hairs on the back of my neck standing up. It was crazy. Yeah, and I think it was last week I had a guest on that talked about telepathy, and then last night I had a guest that was a psychic channeler who claimed to channel Einstein and other people and everything like that. I don't want to give away too much to my listeners if they haven't heard that show yet.
Right.
But it was brought up then too, as well as kind of using telepathy to contact the spirit world. And I think it's probably the same way with what these people experienced and everything. Now, have you ever thought about ever interviewing or getting in contact with people like Bob Lazar?
It's possible. I we're not huge. We don't watch a ton of documentaries ourselves, which we think gives us a fresh perspective when we make them, and a keen eye and something new. But having said that, I'm aware. I think there was, a Bob Lazar documentary not too long ago. I think his story's interesting. It's fascinating how, some things have come up corroborating that, he did work at Los Alamos or, in those different places, right? That he was initially, say, discredited. And dude, well, we'll see when I meet this Rick Doty fellow next week. But, I think there's enough documented cases like where we know that the government has gone out and smeared people, right? Like what was it wasn't James Webb, whatever that Webb fellow who like broke the whole thing about the CIA and the and like smuggling drugs and the Nicaragua war and all that stuff, right? Like the CIA was like smuggling cocaine and bringing it in to
Gary Webb?
Gary Webb, right, and starting the crack pandemic. And so like, dude, this guy was like, a journalist and reporting all this stuff. And I can't remember if he was driven to suicide, but you know what I mean? Like people went out of their way to make him look crazy. And he was telling the truth the whole time.
Yeah. And of course,
so is Bob Lazar telling the truth? He could be.
Yeah, there's a lot of people out there that want this hush hush and everything like that. I can put you in contact with another person of mine that I've had a guest on my show. He's on my friends list and everything like that. But he is the nephew to, and I don't know if you've ever heard of the name either. George Van Tessel.
That doesn't ring a bell.
Okay, he was a UFO contactee out at Giant Rock. And the nephew is Chad Meek. I had him on my show talking about Giant Rock. He made a movie about Giant Rock, the movie, and everything, talking about his late uncle. He's had experiences himself where they would have, when he was a kid, out there with his uncle and everything like that, where they would have these big, almost like festivals out in the middle of the California desert, in Landers, California, where Giant Rock is. And there was a built, and I know I mispronounce it all the time wrong, but Integron, or something like that, but where it's almost got like healing properties that the extraterrestrial beings that he came in contact with gave him that knowledge.
The rejuvenation thing. Yeah, I've heard of that before. The Integratron.
Yeah, I can never say it right. But I can put you in contact with him as well.
Oh, cool. Yeah, we'll talk after the show.
Yeah. But now, I do want to, I got another question here in the chat that I've been putting off, but just because so many things run through my mind, I could probably do a 5-hour show. I'd write down enough questions to go 5 hours. But the question has, and I don't think they ever heard this, and I don't think either one of you mentioned it, but have you, when you were out there doing the secrets of the Sasquatch and talking about the sounds, did you ever, while out there, hear any of the Bigfoot screams and everything like that?
I did not. I did 2 separate campouts. Did not hear any Bigfoot screams. The one out in the middle of nowhere, heard some like children talking like real late, which was like odd, out in the middle of nowhere in like 20-degree weather. The second one, we heard I don't know, it was like it wasn't a Bigfoot sound as far as I could tell. It was like, I don't know, some more of like a squeaky sound, but there was like no metal gate or anything around to make it. So that was really odd. And then, the third time when it was going to be the Sasquatch campout, and the person had a last minute cancellation. So I ended up camping out by myself, right in the middle of nowhere, and had a UFO sighting as I'm setting up my tent. It was, going from like right to left, and I'm like, oh man, that thing's bright, but I guess it's a plane, whatever. And then it like stopped and started to like go down towards the earth, and like would like go like a little bit, stop, stutter, go again, stop, stutter. And as I'm pulling the phone out to like record it, it disappeared, and I was like, oh geez. And it was so cold.
Happens.
Yeah. And I'm like, oh my gosh. Well, it's so cold. Like, look, if I don't get this tent up and if I don't get a fire built within like the next, 20, 30 minutes, like I'm probably going to die. So I really can't put too much thought process towards what the heck that was, but that was crazy. And then same deal, that one out in the middle of nowhere, dude, heard like two people yelling at like 1 a.m, man. I went flying up out of my my eyes like opened straight up, because I was like getting ready to go to sleep. And yeah, dude, like undid my sleeping bag, undid the tent, popped out, had my knife like at the ready. I didn't see anybody, but dude, yeah, it was spooky and crazy. But so those are long stories to just weird experiences. But no, I did not personally hear any type of like Bigfoot howl.
Okay. Well, we are almost out of time here, so I want to ask, where can people find out more information on both of you and your films?
For sure. So again, our company is Dockside Media. That's DOCSIDE Media. And so on Dockside Media, we've got the links there for Conscious Contact Full Disclosure, which is available on Amazon, iTunes, Google Play, Microsoft, and Vudu. And then it also has, it'll have the links on there for Secrets of the Sasquatch, The Ghost of Gettysburg, and In Plain Sight, The Intelligence Community UFOs. And then if anybody likes, we're real active on social media. So we're on Facebook.com/Dockside Media. We're on Twitter @Dockside Media, on Instagram @Dockside Media, and on TikTok @Dockside Media. And I think that's, and we're on YouTube as well. We don't have enough subs yet to get the cool custom link. So search for Dockside Media. Yep. But search for Dockside Media and you'll see our little black logo with the white text or like label maker saying Dockside Media.
Well, I'll definitely have to follow and sub and everything like that after we're done with the show and everything and talking. And, of course, people can find me on all the different social medias as well, but I'll mention that here in a moment. Now, how can people contact you if they have something that they might be interested in, in making a film about? If you have like a new topic that you want to
sure,
or something, or they want to present an idea to you.
We're open all the time to hearing anybody. So just find us on one of those social media platforms. Search for Dockside Media, or if you want to send us a message through our website, just go to docksidemedia.com and there's a contact form, and that'll shoot us an email, and we'll get back to you.
All right. Yeah, and of course, the person in the chat here, she is going to send me some information, which I'm going to send you guys in a later email, probably tomorrow.
Cool.
But a mutual friend that is a UFO and ET experiencer.
Awesome.
So I mean,
right on. Yep. We're going to keep cranking out these docs.
That's what this show is all about: bringing people together and discussing. Because I mean, there are people that are going to disagree with your points of view, my points of view, other people's points of view. But I feel that if we actually, even if we disagree, if we can come together and talk and come to not agree, but kind of agree to disagree or something like that, or kind of come to a consensus, then we can probably come together more than we're being divided right now at this stage in life. But
oh yeah, definitely, man. And Phil, thank you so much for having us.
Yeah, and that's what Dockside Media is all about, man. Is we understand, yep, the world's a big place and we can't please everyone, but we're hopeful, man, that this stuff is interesting and fascinating. And if we can get enough people talking about it and generating momentum, right, that helps the scientific community get more involved. So you have things like the Galileo Project, right? And you have things like these new government task force that are going to have to give quarterly reports, right, on what UFO and UAP data they have. So Chris and I are hoping that, that we can keep creating interesting, informative, entertaining, and thought-provoking documentaries that helps destigmatize these different paranormal phenomena and also help inspire people and encourage people to feel okay, like talking about the experiences they've had. And we think that's going to help you uncover and unlock a lot of these mysteries.
Yeah, and trust me, I could give you a ton of stories in my 30 years. I'll mention about it after the show. And of course, if anybody else has an experience that they want to share, or a story, or ask a question about what we talked about tonight, or even anything about the paranormal or technology, health, wellness, the dating relationship, science, technology, all that good stuff, anything that the show covers. Tomorrow night is Friday night, and that means it's open lines where you can call in, share your stories, experiences, or questions that you have about anything that the show covers. And then, of course, next week, I mentioned it last night, but briefly, but next week I am taking the week off. I got some things that I got to take care of, so I will have shows. They're just rebroadcast of old shows from 2018. So I got some interesting ones. We're going to be Monday, we're going to talk about numerology. Tuesday, we're going to get into tech news and cyber computer security. Wednesday, we're going to visit the Omen House, which I know very well, and David is a good friend of mine. And then we're going to talk about past life regression and progression on Thursday. And then, of course, next Friday, it'll be a rebroadcast of Open Lines from October of 2018. So that's what we got coming up next week. And if you want to check out any of the films, the trailers, or anything like that for my guest tonight, there is a banner ad at the top of the Talking Tonight website. Click on that banner ad. It will take you right to Dockside Media. Also, be sure to follow, like, subscribe on all my social media, the show's social media channels: Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Discord, and YouTube, and LinkedIn, which I don't have. It's a small link up by the cover photo at the top, but I don't have a link thing right there for LinkedIn because it's more of a networking thing than for the show. So, but for as far as Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Discord, and YouTube, be sure to check out all those, like, follow, and subscribe. And until tomorrow night, when I have Friday night open lines, again, where you can call in, share your stories, experiences, or questions, I shall see you on the dark side. Good night from Talking the Night. Darkness has fallen. Turn on the radio, and you hear him talking. listening to what he has to say, all about paranormal and all of the things. When he sounds off, you can hear him say, see you on the dock.